Ms. Fahimeh Abedi, that was great to have such a panorama of the ODR functions, the way to move forward in order to proceed integrating ODR in digital courts and AI in digital courts. Now I'm gonna give the floor to Professor Jonh Zeleznikow. Maybe have questions, or you wanted to say something in addition related to what do you think it is the way to move forward in the field of digital courts and integrating ODR in the field of access to justice?
Thank you, Fahimeh, for that excellent talk, and thank you, Fernando. I think most of us are actually more interested in how the legal profession use AI than developing new algorithms. And with that, you were talking about bias in data, which is certainly a major problem, and all of us recognise it and talk about it. But are you aware of any solutions that can help actually evaluate whether there is bias in data and how we can address these problems to make users feel more confident?
That's a very important question, John. I think, as I said, I think like we need to have a new set of data maybe to remove that biases.
Okay, so the real question then becomes is, where does the data come from? And I mean, legal data is really just so different than any other data that AI addresses. And for example, where AI has been very successful is medicine. But in medicine, the data actually means something. Your height, your age, your weight, your blood pressure means something. In law, data is very judgmental. So how can we, how do we decide what is new data, what data is relevant, and what data is not?
Maybe we can have a control over that. Yeah, maybe we can have, I don't know, maybe we can have an evaluation kind of process before putting the data into the system. Maybe we can have people from a different, I can say from different communities. They can have their input, and then we can have those data, not just only have it from a specific. For example, in the US, we had the cases which it was the prosecutors who used the data, which was mainly against the people with the dark skin, and then they gave those kind of data to the AI, and it made a decision which was based on giving the bail. Yes, if you remember the case, John. Which was, for example, in the case of the court, it was using that for whether or not whether or not accept the bail from these criminals. Were they criminals? Yeah, they were criminals. But the data was actually very biased against the darker skinned people, even though they didn't do a very, I can say very. The crimes they committed, it wasn't very serious, but however, the system made a biased decision against them, and thereby the bail was being refused. So because of those kind of the data which had the biases, so maybe if we can have if there can be before adding those data to the system, there can be maybe a process or a committee, or we can have views of people from different groups. Maybe that can be as a solution, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, Azana. I'll make a point, then, Azana. Most people, when they think of artificial intelligence, thinking of data mining or machine learning, and these processes use past cases to learn from. But what you're saying is that we don't want these past cases because these past cases may have been biased. The law may have been different when the past cases were decided. So we've essentially got to eliminate these past cases that have biases that are on different law. But if we eliminate these past cases, then we don't have much data. And so we can't do it. For example, the US Supreme Court, the most major one, probably everybody in the audience would know, is the issue of abortion. And the US Supreme Court made a major change last year. And so every case following Roe versus Wade, which was decided in 1973, up till 2023 is obsolete. And so I would almost make the argument that, in fact, AI for actually making judgments is very dangerous. It can be useful for giving advice. But the human, and this comes into the next part you were saying about how the human interacts with AI. And if you'd like to say more with that, because that is really important. Medicine, not so important. In law, it is.
Yeah, so yeah, as I said, like, we always have to control the use of the AI in the decision making. So AI can be used as an assistant tool and as a supportive, not just on. For example, we can use the AI to just propose the solutions or the different kinds of the solutions that the parties can achieve, because sometimes they are not thinking about those kind of solutions, so it will give them a different options. So yeah, it can be used as an assistant tool. That's why we always need to have that human supervision, and then we need that the human to evaluate those kind of outcomes. So it can be used as a supportive or assistant tool. Yeah, so it's especially in the law, I think, because it can be very complicated and hard. And in the project which I'm working now in Australia, we are looking into how the lawyers are understanding emerging technology. So understanding emerging technology, it's very hard and complicated, not just only for the public, but also for the lawyers as well. And it can be also problematic for the mediators as well. So I think they also need to have a training how they can use the AI to support them in a best way to have to enhance the outcomes of the resolution.
Thank you very much for your presentation. We have a couple of the last, end of the presentation change to that argument that AI is relevant to all given that human supervision can also be biased, and AI is definitely a product of human intelligence, which can be innately biased. And again, back to John's remarks, for instance, John made this comparison between law and the health sector, medicine. I would say that there is certain relatively linear as well, and obviously certain data can be relatively more relevant in certain terms. There's no absolute in medicine either in this term, but in law either, for example, like abortion, for instance, that when, for example,
In the ODR, you mean? In ODR? Okay, so as I said before, it's just like, so as I said, we can't give the full control to the use of the AI, and the disadvantages can be the security. So we can't, sometimes the issue can be the security because they might, because it will use the cases. So how we can make sure that the AI is not going to use the personal information of the disputant, so how we can exclude the fact patterns from the personal information. Those were the challenges which I said with the use of the AI. Nothing further. I think one of the biggest challenges was after the COVID, everyone started to using the AI without actually understanding what is AI, what can AI bring into our life. So, for example, there were some educational applications which was being developed and was being used by the children at home. And then after it came to the news that it was tracking the GPS of where the students were located. So that was invading the security. So I think one of the things was that I can say we didn't get really well prepared, we didn't get educated how to use that. And now we have the ChatGPT, which is being used even by the students at the school, and they are using that for their assignments. So I think, I don't say AI is bad, it has a lot of good benefits, but we need to have some kind of education. We need to have some guideline, how to use the AI in our life to actually maximize that. That's about the society, if you want to say. And as I said, like mediators, they can use the AI. AI is very good. It can help it. For example, they can use ChatGPT. We had the ChatGPT 3, and now we had ChatGPT 4. ChatGPT was 1 out of 10. Now ChatGPT 4 is 9 out of 10. We can't stop people from using AI and ChatGPT, for example. But however, we can train them, we can educate them, we can provide some guidance how they can use this. And it will also support them it will protect them, because we had a case of the lawyers in the United States, they used the ChatGPT for the cases. And the cases that ChatGPT was giving them were fake cases. They used those in the courts and they were fined. So it was a big shame for them. But maybe they didn't understand, maybe they didn't know that ChatGPT is not that smart, but however they use the ChatGPT. So even the lawyers actually need this kind of education. They need to be aware about the benefits of using AI and what kind of the challenges. They shouldn't give 100% trust when they are using the AI. So yeah, I think if I want to say, like, the world, the way it's moving these days is just the technology and AI is going really fast. We need to be aware about the challenges that might arise. Some of them are unforeseen. However, we need to prepare ourselves for these kind of the challenges. But we can't stop people from using AI. It has LexisNexis has provided AI, so it will. I was in a conference that they introduced the use of the AI in the LexisNexis, which will do all the search for the databases and the cases, and also the draft of the contract as well. So, and then the issue here was arising in the conference. Everyone was asking, then what about the interns? They're gonna lose their jobs. the new graduate law students, they will not have job in the future because there is the AI which the law firms can use that. Yeah, unfortunately, AI is just like, it's growing fast. Some people might get disadvantages such as these law students, but on the other side, it can provide us with the higher quality of service, I can say.
Yeah, what I would argue, and this has often been the arguments with technology, how's it going to change your job? The answer with law students, interns, no, they're not going to lose their jobs. They're just going to perform their jobs in a different way. Okay,
Maybe.
just the same as, you know, people who used to ride horses and carriages then started driving cars and taxis and things like that. We will just adapt. I mean, I would argue the real danger is of using AI to make judgments. Using AI to help you and to provide advice can be very useful, and you then make the decision as to whether that advice is useful.
So the research which I'm doing in Australia is new legal thinking for emerging technology. So we are looking into the level of understanding and the challenges that the lawyers have with the new emerging technology. I think that's very interesting because usually this part is not being very seen. Like in the organizations, they have lawyers, but usually they tend to involve the lawyers in the contract stage because lawyers don't understand very well technology. While the argument is that no, we need to actually involve lawyers in the earlier stage, for example, in the design of new emerging technology, because they are familiar with some of the issues such as privacy that might arise in the future. But the IT people, they usually don't tend to have a good communication with the lawyers, and the main reason is that because they have a different language and they don't have a good positive communication, John. And it was very interesting. One of the lawyers I interviewed was saying that usually they just get involved when there is any issues, not in the early stage when there is like ideation. And another thing was that they were saying sometimes we see that there are some problems, but we can't really clearly express those because they don't have that self-confidence because they don't understand technology really well. So this was one of the lawyers' views. So they can't really, sometimes they think maybe they don't understand very well technology. That's why they tend not to bring those problems that they might see. So it's very important that the lawyers understand technologies these days as well. Yeah, of course. So how we can create that kind of positive communication is it can be any, for example, it can be any artificial IoT things or anything which can be new. For example, if you have there isn't any, as you know, there isn't any, again, a defined definition for the new emerging technology. But for example, imagine if you have a bank, for example, they want to use the customer data in regarding to providing them with the customized loan services. So they want to develop a new software. How much of data they can access? So there can be a question for the lawyers that whether the bank can use, what kind of the data they can use if they want to make this kind of customized loan application. So that can be one of the issues.
Yes, please. No.
Although, for example, I mean, a much more dangerous use of data is, I mean, you have the health insurance funds collecting data on all of their clients, trying to predict health trends and things like that. But what they then do is they look at someone's maybe genetic data, they say, oh, you're going to be vulnerable to these diseases, and so they won't give you health insurance. Okay, so that's a very great violation of people's privacy. But I did want to make the point, I actually would put the blame on technologists, much more than even lawyers, because normally when I'm talking to artificial intelligence people, they're more interested in new algorithms. And, you know, is this the latest data mining algorithm that we're using to support vector machines? And I know, even speaking to the computer science people at the University of Granada, that was their only interest, having better algorithms. In fact, from a legal sort of concept, the better algorithms are not of great importance. In fact, rule-based systems, which are now 40 or 50 years old, so they're not emerging technologies, they've been there. They are the most useful for compliance and things like that. So it is really the question that becomes important is, what do we want to do with this AI? And the important issue is how people use them and what benefit they're going to be, and how, you know, convincing, let's say, the legal profession they're useful in this context and they're dangerous in that. And I think that's where the challenge is.
That's really, it is so. What we see from this debate is really that there are different uses for AI in the field of justice and for legal professionals inside the digital courts. Well, it is clear that it is not the same using AI outside the courts and inside the courts. Inside the court is more challenging because to recommend a judgment to a judge is really difficult. What I see is that what is now challenging is to decide which are the uses that we could promote outside the courts and inside the courts, and which kind of supervision do we have to apply to the different tools of AI. So now really what I see is that from this debate, now we are facing an opportunity to debate and to decide. We have different tools for different uses, so we have to decide with which kind of control do we have to have on this kind of tools for this kind of use. Maybe we have a tool, but the control that we have to do is different depending on the use that we have to that we are going to employ this machine. So now it is we are facing and we need to discover which are the tools and which are the uses that we how the tools are using the data, if we have if we can trust the data, or like Jonh says, that maybe the data are obsolete and they are not held anymore, and we have to change the things. So if we are with this, if we are facing this challenge, my question would be, how do you think we could move forward in order to advance integrating AI in digital courts? What would you propose as master lines for this development?
Yeah. As John said, we can't give the we can't give the we can't use the AI and then replace the AI replace the judges with AI. So we will not have any kind of robot judge, we can say.
Yeah, it's really dangerous to do
Yes.
so.
So we can't have that one, but however we can have a kind of like guideline how we can use the AI, how we can use the AI as the assistant tool for the judges, which is now being used, for example, for filing the cases, for virtual hearing, and these kind of the things. And I think we need to first train the judges and the mediators and the arbitrators how they should use the AI, because the issue of the security is also very important, the transparency, how we can protect the information of the cases, the personal information of the cases. And yeah, we need to have some guideline for the use of the AI, I think. As I said, like we need to have some ethical codes or ethical standards, as well as we need to regulate the use of the AI in the justice system, definitely.
Maybe in the way that the European Union is now moving into creating a regulation in order to make possible the governance of AI.
Yeah, exactly. To have the control actually over the AI, because we can't just let the AI to, as John said, to make the decision for the cases. I think maybe in the future we can use it for the cases like the British Columbia is using for the cases which are low value and is maybe less, I can say less risky, but for the important cases, still we need to have that human judgment on the cases, because there are some aspects that still the AI can't see, those kind of aspects. I think a little bit like, for example, if there is a murder, yes, John, like in the society, because the emotion of the society is being involved in those kind of cases, it's very important to still have the human to make a decision.
Well, when you get into criminal law, you're talking about different onuses. And, you know, unless it's balance of probabilities, AI is going to be very difficult to use.
Yeah, exactly.
What is beyond reasonable doubt?
That's right.
Thank you very much. If we don't have any other question, what I'm going to say is thank you very much, Fahimeh, for being here today. There was a very fruitful debate. Really, I hope that this is the beginning of our research cooperation that we can develop in the field. As I told Fahimeh that we are now developing a project in the field of creating a ODR platform for alternative dispute resolution. Really, it would be great to have you in the team, as also John. Thank you very much for coming and for attending this seminar. So please have a
Thank you, Fernando. Thank you so much. تو عکس میگیری ازمون؟ Or maybe we should take a picture.
okay.